Many countries have problems with corruption, including the United States. But when you have those volumes of money that are associated with the drug traffic coming through a relatively, a still developing country like Mexico, it does create enormous distortions in the system. And so in that sense, a trajectory of escalating violence, increasing corruption, a direct challenge to political authority, particularly in the northern Mexican states, that's a bad trajectory. That doesn't mean the collapse of Mexico. We look at a country like Colombia. Colombia is a country that has a sophisticated political system. It's a functioning democracy. It has an advanced economic system, shrewd businessmen. Bogota is kind of the South American Milan. But it's attached to this ongoing drug-fueled insurgency that has been continuing for decades, which is essentially a conflict zone.
Do you see that possibility for Mexico?
We could see some of the northern states of Mexico becoming, in effect, under the de facto authority of the drug traffickers. Now, there would still be Mexican sovereignty, they would still elect local officials, the police department would still go out and deal with petty crime, but the presence of drug lords with private armies who are untouchable would tell us where the real locus of power lies.
For us, for those of us who live on this side of the border, what does that mean?
We on this side of the border, I mean cynically, could tolerate that so long as the violence did not slop over onto the U.S. side of the border. Clearly it creates problems for us in terms of the continuing flow of drugs. It creates problems for us in that some of these gangs have also diversified into smuggling aliens, people desperate for work in the United States to run the border, and that requires, given our improved border defenses, it requires increased sophistication to do that. And so organized crime has moved into that area. We could see, we are already seeing a growing kidnapping problem in Mexico.
So I guess I'm hearing you say that Mexico could become Colombia.
They have in Colombia, that Mexico does not have, is an insurgency. I mean, in Colombia, there has been for many, many years, for decades. It's now in its fifth decade. Let me state that again. In Colombia, we are in the fifth decade of a persistent armed conflict, an insurgency that began in the 1960s. We don't have that in Mexico. And that complicates the situation in Colombia. And there is nothing on the horizon that indicates the imminent collapse of the government in Mexico City or the emergence of an insurgent challenge to that government. The real problem is the authority exercised by these drug lords.